Shortly after the prime evils discovered Sanctuary, they created a religion called the Triune, with the goal of luring humans to their side. This marked the beginning of the Sin War, a war for the allegiance of humankind. To counter the three, Inarius established his own religion, called the Cathedral of Light, upholding the tenets of heaven. Two sides battled for years behind the scenes while heaven still remained unknowing of Sanctuary's existence. The two churches meddled in the everyday lives of humans, but apart from the highest-ranking church servants, none knew the true identities of the religions. That all changed when Lilith broke free of her imprisonment and returned to Sanctuary, once again seeking to bring the power of the Nephilim under her control. A man named Ульдиссиан, a distant descendant of Inarius and Lilith, became the core of her plots. Without his knowledge, she awoke ancient powers in him, giving him the ability to use and control magic. But soon she framed him, making it appear as though he used those powers to slay the servants of both the Triune and the Cathedral of Light. Being known for his hostility toward followers of these two religions, it was impossible for him to prove his innocence. Fearing for his fate, Ульдиссиан used his powers to break free and run away from his hometown, followed by his brother, his two close friends, and a hauntingly beautiful noblewoman in exile called Lilia. Blaming the Triune and Cathedral of Light for the predicament they were in, Lilia convinces Ульдиссиан to use his new powers to bring down both the Cathedral and the Triune, and in doing so restore the free will of humanity. The venture was a struggle at first, but with the unknown aid from Lilith, more and more people were found who could use magic, and they gathered under Ульдиссиан. They became known as the Edirum, with Ульдиссиan as their leader. As the Edirum grew in their power, they became a serious threat to both the Triune and the Cathedral of Light. While pursued by both religions, Ульдиссиan cultivated his powers, growing in strength day by day, until his abilities were far beyond those of any other human. Lilith, however, understood that her plans could not be achieved unless something was done with the World Stone. The crystal had been altered by Inarius to both shield the world and to limit the powers of humans. So long as it still stood, no human army could ever wage war with heaven or hell. To her misfortune, Ульдиссиan soon discovered that the noblewoman Lilia was none other than Lilith herself, disguised as a human being. Though their friendship died, he still pursued freedom for humankind from the influence of the Triune and the Cathedral of Light. And so it happened that Ульдиссиan, with the help of Rathma, managed to enter the World Stone chamber and alter the stone. This change had monumental consequences, and not only stopped the weakening of the Nephilim, but in fact sped up the growth of their powers. Eventually, Inarius was dragged into the conflict, sending his trusted assistant Gamuel to assassinate Ульдиссиan. The plot failed, and Inarius resorted to even more desperate measures, a pact with Diablo himself. At this point, the human powers had grown immensely and a confrontation was imminent. As they prepared for the upcoming battle, Tyrael discovers Sanctuary, and soon thereafter the high heavens were notified of its existence. They viewed Sanctuary and its inhabitants as an abomination to existence and acted accordingly, sending their armies directly to Sanctuary. Trag'oul, the guardian of the mortal realm, used his immense power to shield its location from the angels, but he could not hold it forever. Uldyssian and Inarius inevitably clashed, both wielding the strength of gods. Breaking the bond between Inarius and the World Stone, Uldyssian started to win the battle, gaining even more immense powers. It was then that Tyrael himself intervened, calling forth the angelic host of high heavens, aiming to purge Sanctuary of all life. The prime evils, determined not to let the angels destroy what they sought to exploit, erupted and a three-way battle commenced. Uldyssian, infused with godlike strength and forced to watch his people die in the clash, was overcome with emotions and released all of his power onto the battling armies. The energy released was so immense it brought the conflict to a halt. In an act of the purest selflessness, he brought the raging energies back into himself, and finally, after taking in all the destruction that Sanctuary had suffered, Trag'oul guided him to the void to release it. The release of those energies negated his very being. Uldyssian's sacrifice changed Tyrael's stance, and it was he who eventually made a decisive vote to spare humankind. As humanity's right to exist was now assured, a truce was made between angels and demons. Sanctuary was to live on its own, with no war brought there by heaven or hell. In return for agreeing to this, Mephisto obtained custody of Inarius and took him deep into the burning hells. The cathedral and triune were no more.